Donald Trump's ballooning debt. A new Forbes breakdown of his finances shows Trump owes more than $1.8 billion, a number that's actually exploded just since he left the White House. Out front now, Forbes senior editor Dan Alexander, who's been pouring through Trump's finances. So, Dan, a lot of this debt actually comes from legal judgments, $454 million to the state of New York after being found liable for fraud. And he's actually racking up millions more in interest. Walk us through what else is there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, the biggest one is that 454 plus the interest, you get to 482. Then you go to his real estate portfolio. He has 360 against a tower in San Francisco. Many of these buildings have lots of debt on them. But there's also the E. Jean Carroll case, two cases where he lost and it was ordered to pay $88.5 million. Interest is also accruing on that. So if you put those two legal judgments together, just those things alone, you're at about $575 million. And then you have all of the real estate stuff on top of that.
So let's say even if case is under appeal, right? So there's a chance that that changes. So if we put that aside, the legal judgments, you've been mentioning the real estate business. What really stands out to you most in terms of the debt there?
The one that I think will be potentially most troublesome for Trump is connected to 40 Wall Street. So he has $118 million of debt against that building. And his leasehold interest in the building, we estimate, is only worth $116 million. So it looks like the building is a little bit underwater. And that debt comes due in July of next year. So he's got to figure out a solution here pretty quickly. There are two options. One is he could go find a bank to refinance the loan. But banks are going to be pretty skeptical of refinancing an old, aging office building where the occupancy is going down since COVID. Or he can pay for it himself. He has about $400 million in cash. Also, these legal judgments hanging over his head. Does he really want to tie up, say, $120 million paying off this debt? That's going to be tough for him to do. But in any case, he's going to have to figure out some solution here as he's rounding the corner into 2025.
So he talks a lot about just how much cash he has. Bottom line, does he actually have enough cash to cover these debts?
You know, the big question is whether or not he sells off shares of the Trump Media and Technology Group. This is the parent company to Truth Social. Right now, he has about $410 million in cash, but he has $1.8 billion in liabilities. So he's going to have to sell something. And those shares right now they move a ton, but today are worth over $4 billion. That makes up the majority of his fortune right now. If he sells a big chunk of those, especially if it's before the election when people are really excited about it and it's trading really high, he could easily pocket $500 million, $1 billion, and then he wouldn't have to worry about debt concerns at all. If instead he hangs on to them, then he might be in trouble.
What are the chances, though, of that happening?
Of him selling, you never know. I mean, it would, from a business perspective, it would make sense for him to sell them. Okay, this is a guy who needs cash, and he's got a huge asset, and these are liquid shares. He should sell these from strictly a business perspective. Also, he can sell a big portion of his shares and still hang on to a big portion of the company. So it just makes a lot of sense. But it would send the signal that he's not fully behind it, maybe he doesn't fully believe in it, and Donald Trump doesn't like to project weakness. So how do you predict how Donald Trump's ego plays into all of that? That's a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, and fascinating that some of these zones, including the one you mentioned, 40 Wall Street, coming up next summer. That is a lot to think about. Really appreciate it, Dan. Thank you.
The Wall Street Journal notes that whoever wins the presidential race, they will inherit a pretty impressive economy. The broadest measure of the economy is strong. GDP grew at an annualized rate of 2.8% in the third quarter. You have to remember back in 2020, Donald Trump warned the stock market would tank if voters elected President Biden. Well, the S&P returns under the Biden administration, they've been pretty huge. Let's get to CNN's Matt Egan for the latest on this. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, John. Look, it's been a blockbuster 4 years for the stock market under President Biden. The S&P 500 has surged almost 70% since Election Day 2020. Now, all of these big gains have boosted the value of millions of Americans' retirement plans, their college savings plans, their investment portfolios. And this stands out to me for two reasons. One, it's coming at a time when many people have real frustrations with the underlying real American economy. It's also the exact opposite of what former President Trump had predicted would happen. Back in July of 2020, then President Trump tweeted, if you want your 401ks and stocks to disintegrate and disappear, vote for the radical left, do-nothing Democrats, and corrupt Joe Biden. Massive tax hikes. They will make you poor very fast. Now, that was quite the damning statement from Trump, who more than any of his predecessors really looked at the market as a real-time barometer of how he was doing. And at the time of that tweet, Trump was enjoying the second best market performance that any president has had in modern history. But what ended up happening was the Biden market has actually surpassed the Trump stock market. So what we found is that under Biden, the S&P 500 has enjoyed compound annual growth of about 14% since Election Day. That is the second best that any president has had since 1945. That's according to CFRA research. And the only one that was stronger, and I think you can see it from that chart, was Bill Clinton during the booming 1990s and the dot-com bubble. Now, these strong gains under Biden, they reflect the fact that we had low unemployment, we've had this rapid recovery from COVID, and of course the boom from AI. But we should note that the market was really strong under Trump as well. He also had low unemployment for most of his term. Very low inflation, and those 2017 tax cuts really boosted corporate profits. But it is really remarkable to see that the Biden market has been historically strong at a time when a lot of people are frustrated with the economy. John?
Important to note that, and also important when you look at that chart, stock markets generally go up. It's an argument. It's an argument for blue chips right there. Matt Egan, thank you very much for that.
I want you all to grow lemons in your gardens. The lemon plant which give benefits to you, which provide lemons to you, and it's a very good and yeah, very good thing. I have experienced this, and I love that plant very much. And yeah, see this is a very good thing. Let me show you my another things which are in my basement. Let's go, come with me. I'm here to show you. Yeah, this is my basement, and this is my storeroom over here. I got some plants and fishes. I'm gonna show it to you. Yeah, let's go. These are my small plants which are in my gallery. Look at that. These are very beautiful. And yeah, now I'm going to show you my fish. There are fishes, you can see. These are very small fishes, you can't see either.